We begin with our Newsmaker segment and talk about the upcoming centennial celebration of Negro League Baseball, which had its origins in Kansas City and lives on at the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum at 18th and Vine. Joining me for that discussion now is NLBM President Bob Kendrick. Bob, good to see you. Welcome back to Ruckus. Thanks for joining us.
It is great to be back. Thanks so much for having me.
100 years next year.
Yeah.
Talk about some of the activities that will take place during the centennial celebration.
It's a tremendous milestone. And for us at the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, we believe one of the most significant occurrences in the annals of American history is the founding of the Negro Leagues, and as you mentioned, right here in Kansas City in 1920. And so we announced on the 99th anniversary of the founding of the Negro Leagues, February 13th of this year, that we would take the lead in a major national celebration, which will begin for us on February 13th, 2020. 100 years from the day that Rube Foster stood at the Purcell YMCA to create the Negro National League, and we'll open up a beautiful brand new exhibition of amazing works of art by an artist named Greg Cranler. And these are extraordinary works of art, and we'll have some new artifacts that'll be accompanying that. And then we'll start a litany of programs and events, not only here in Kansas City, but around the country. But it will culminate here on November 14, 2020, with a major 100th anniversary gala in conjunction with what would have been Buck O'Neill's 109th birthday.
You know, it'll be a celebration of baseball, but it really is more than a celebration of just baseball.
Oh, you're absolutely right. This is American history. This is a celebration of civil rights. This is a celebration of diversity and inclusion. All of this wrapped up inside this story of baseball. You know, these amazingly courageous and talented athletes who just wanted to play ball. They had no idea they were making history. They didn't care about making history. They just wanted to play.
I want to ask you about 18th and Vine. The museum has been open for what, about 20 years?
Yeah, we're in our 29th season, and of course we moved into our new home, current home, in November of 1997, so 22nd year in that location.
You have been successful. The museum has been successful in an area where there have been few successes. Why do you suppose that is?
You know, it didn't hurt to have a power hitter like the late, great Buck O'Neill, you know, in the fold, leading this charge for us. And I just think that what he prepared us to do was to go out. I use a baseball analogy that he shared with me when he said Satchel Paige said Nancy, called him Nancy, said, Nancy, we're going to have, La Homa's going to cook fish and grits in the morning, but the catch is we got to catch the fish. And so he created that mindset, if we don't catch it, we don't eat. And I think that is what has driven us to have that kind of entrepreneurial spirit, to try and be as creative as we possibly can in terms of the programs and the events and things that we do to try and get people into the fold. And then it's baseball. We're a major league city, and it's still baseball. Even though this was taking place in an area that a lot of people had turned their backs on many, many years ago, Buck had the foresight for us to build it there.
But Kansas City is one of the homes of jazz.
Yeah.
You would think a jazz museum would be more successful than it has been.
Well, you know, and I still hold great hopes that the Jazz Museum will restore its luster and be right there with both of us operating at a optimal level. That is good for everybody. It's good for the city. It's good for 18th and Vine. So no one's a bigger cheerleader for the AJM than I am.
And if the museums do well, business flourishes in that same area.
Absolutely, absolutely.
There's talk in the Kansas City Star, they're running editorials and some columns about, in the future, a baseball stadium downtown. Does that sound appealing to you?
Well, let me preface this by saying I love Kauffman Stadium. I think it's one of the best places in Major League Baseball to go watch a game. But from a self-serving standpoint, a downtown ballpark would be great for the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. It would be great in many respects for the urban core as we're creating new job opportunities that people would have access to, a far greater access to those opportunities. And we've seen the success of what happens when you build a ballpark or a stadium downtown is that the infrastructure in and around it certainly grows. The commercial aspect of things seem to grow right along with it. So yeah, you know, sentimentally, I love the K, but a downtown ballpark is certainly something I think I could get behind.
Yeah, what would be the impact at 18th and Vine if there were a baseball stadium downtown? It would be tremendous, would it not?
Well, I think so. I think so. It puts people in closer proximity.
Yeah.
We do well now in terms of baseball fans who are coming in to see the Royals play and still make their way to the museum. But I just got to believe that the closer proximity will give us an even greater opportunity to get more people to come and experience the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, and thus doing so, experience 18th and Vine.
Going back to the centennial that's upcoming, bobbleheads? Tell us about the bobbleheads.
In December of last year, through one of our partners, a licensee called Dreams Fulfilled, we announced this incredible project of creating the Centennial Bobblehead Team. 30-plus bobbleheads that will be introduced. Satchel Paige was the first to be introduced, and who other than Satchel would be the right person to lead off this collectible, I think going to be an amazing collection of collectibles. And so these bobbleheads are going to be released throughout the rest of this year up until February 13th, and with a portion of those proceeds benefiting the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. They had a $10,000 goal for
Will there be one of you?
We haven't determined that yet.
Okay. Hey, we're out of time. It's great to see you as always. Thanks very much for coming in.
Oh, thanks for having me anytime.
All right, thank you. That is Bob Kendrick, president of the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. Now let's meet the panel and start a ruckus.